Hola, ¿qué tal? Hello there. I'm Robert Martinez, State Historian of New Mexico. This is New Mexico History in 10 minutes. Crypto Jews in colonial Mexico. Crypto Jews in New Mexico. When I was an undergraduate student at the University of New Mexico in Albuquerque around 1983, I asked my Spanish professor, al Señor Fernandez. He was from Spain, very fine, very elegant. And he used to smile at me when I would speak Spanish because I spoke it kind of broken with English words in there and probably not a very good pronunciation. But I remember asking him, Señor Profesor, did any Jews come to the Americas in the colonial period? And he told me, no, there were no Jews that came to Mexico, he said. It was illegal. Jews were not allowed to come to the Americas. Well, what Professor Fernandez was expressing was the ideal of history. There's the ideal, and then there's the real. The ideal are the rules and the laws that we live by today and that our ancestors lived by. And another professor of mine, Himriki Valencia, taught me that if you want to know what people were doing in the past, study the laws that said, don't do this, and you'll know what they were doing. And that turns out to be true. By the time we get to the 1500s, by the mid-1500s to the mid to late 1600s, some 375 people are accused of being a judaizante, crypto Jew, in Mexico City. They're not just from Mexico City. Some of these folks are living in outlying areas, places like Puebla or Guadalajara, or up north in Zacatecas. However, it's pretty much a group of people that are either born in Mexico, Nueva España, or were from Portugal or Spain. We have a list of these folks, and it's quite amazing what an international group it is. What this tells us is that there was enough of a group of people in Mexico City being accused of judaizante that the Inquisition had to open an office there, so to speak. This happens around 1570. So we know that the Inquisition is in place by 1570, 1571, and people are being scrutinized to make sure they're being good and Orthodox Catholics. So with this, it's natural that those people who might be doing things they weren't supposed to would try to get away from that area and maybe go live in outlying areas. We know that Nuevo León, where Monterrey is in Mexico, becomes a magnet for families who are supposedly descended from conversos and who were still secretly practicing their Jewish religion. By the way, in Inquisition documents, it's called the Dead Law of Moses. That's what you see it's called when you're practicing Judaism in secret. Well, New Mexico is colonized in 1598 under Juan de Oñate. He was a criollo Spaniard born in Zacatecas, Mexico, to two Spanish parents. And he leads an expedition to conquer and colonize New Mexico. And some of these folks, it turns out, likely had some Jewish ancestors, maybe Jewish grandparent or grandparents or great-grandparents. By this time, it's about 4 or 5 generations after 1492. So this shouldn't surprise us. When we get into the early to mid 1500s, there are Catholics like Santa Teresa de Avila, the great Spanish mystic. She's a saint, by all means, a very good Catholic. She had a Jewish converso grandparent in her family. So it wasn't that strange. the rules that people coming to the Americas should not be Jewish or have even Jewish ancestry were easily uh, dodged by a black market of fake genealogies, fake paperwork that could prove that you descended from Cristianos Viejos, old Christians, not tainted by the blood of Jews or Moors, which was synonymous for Muslims. Later, I've seen documents that also said, nor of Protestants. So they also get added to the list of people that you did not want to be descended from. There were other reasons. If you had a Jewish background, you couldn't hold political office, civil office, or it was difficult to enter into the priesthood and rise up in the ranks of the church hierarchy, the Catholic Church. So there were a lot of reasons to get these fake documents and fake genealogies. So it shouldn't surprise us that a lot of these folks were running around New Spain and coming to places like Nuevo Leon and then ultimately to New Mexico. Well, by the time we get to New Mexico and a colony is established, it's not a big Spanish colony. There's a handful of families that are of Spanish ancestry, but also mixed blood, mixed Spanish and Native American, Mexican Indian ancestry. There's a Greek among them. Um, uh, there's people who are part African. They're also crucial and part of the story. We have one legajo, one Inquisition case against a man named Francisco Gomez Robledo, who is accused of being a Judaizante. This happens in the mid 1600s, and he is arrested and sent to languish in the secret jail cells of the Inquisition in Mexico City. All of his goods are confiscated. We have an inventory, which is a fascinating document. Um, Ultimately, though, he is released and allowed to return to New Mexico, where he lives his life out. So, what can we say about these early beginnings of New Mexico's Hispano-Hispanic population and culture? It looks like a handful of these folks had Jewish ancestry. There's also something going on in the sense that there are some Jewish practices, some Jewish traditions. It's not a community of crypto Jews. That would have been found out real quick. If New Mexico in the 1600s was a community of crypto Jews, the Inquisition would have been all over Santa Fe and the settlers here, the Hispano population, real fast. I'll give you an example. I was sent to Palma de Mallorca to do some research for Stan Horty's a few years back, and there was a community of chuetas. That's what they're called. They're crypto Jews, judaizantes, but the local term was chuetas. And there's something like 80 cases that describe their dietary practices, their religious practices, how they lived in a community in Palma, what happened to them. The names were on San Benitos, the vests that they had to wear as accused penitentes, penitents under the watchful eye of the Inquisition. This was a community of crypto Jews. We really don't see anything like that in New Mexico. Add that the Pueblo Revolt essentially causes a diaspora of the New Mexicans that descended from the Oñate colony, and that group essentially is scattered and destroyed in a way. A remnant stays in Guadalupe del Paso, waiting to be brought back, but many left to never return and lived in different parts of what's today the state of Chihuahua, Mexico. So when Diego de Vargas returns in 1692, 1693 with colonists to reconquer and recolonize New Mexico, he brings some of those old New Mexicans, but he also brings colonists from Mexico City and also colonists later on from Zacatecas. Some of them, many of them actually, were mestizos and mulattoes. So um, we have to look at this group of people and these operations that are incredibly international. They're people of mixed background, Catholic, some have Jewish ancestors, also Muslim ancestors. That's another element we need to talk about. The North African element of our ancestry. These are Moors, these are Muslims, and they are also part of our story. But we have to look at this group of people that are multi-generational, multicultural. There's more people being added that are part African and part Mexican, Native American. Never mind that over the generations, they're blending with Puebloan people and Genízaro, Indian servants and slaves. Genízaros are also multicultural and multinational. They're Comanche, Apache, Navajo, Kiowa, Ute, all kinds of different native communities, and they're all mixing here in New Mexico in the 1700s. So ultimately, it seems that there's this Jewish consciousness, this cultural attributes, maybe memory, or maybe memories forgotten, being handed down generation to generation, from mother to daughter, a mother to son, father to daughter. And so we have this fascinating movement that starts in 1981 when Dr. Stan Hordes was state historian, and has really blossomed into a movement of its own, where we have meetings and conferences of people who have reclaimed their Sephardic Jewish cultural heritage and religious heritage. Along with that, a certain faith, a way of believing and a way of expressing that belief. So this is now part of us. It's part of our Nuevo Mexicano culture and identity. I descend from some of these folks who have Jewish ancestry. In fact, my mom shows 11% Sephardic Jewish. I show 4% Jewish. And my mom also shows 34% Native American, which includes Genízaros, Puebloan, and Mexican Indian. And that's the same for me. I show about 29% Native American, which is the same mix. So that's it for now. This is New Mexico History in 10 Minutes, a look at New Mexico's crypto-Jewish phenomenon. Adios. Goodbye.